From the world's finest tobacco fields where heritage meets mastery. From the hands of maestros of the leaf, curating blends that transcend time. Inspired by life's greatest moments, moments made to remember. We welcome you to the Cigar Operations Club, a sanctuary for those who demand excellence, a brotherhood defined by tradition, precision, and the pursuit of perfection. Here, every cigar is not just crafted, it is composed. Every detail, every draw, a testament to a legacy and craft. Welcome to a club where rarity is honored, where history is lit and savored, where the extraordinary becomes yours. The Cigar Operations Club, where your story meets the world's most unforgettable cigars. Boot and Young, a legacy built for those who dare to remember. This is your club.
Let the games begin!
Tell us the story of Late Arrivals. Tell us the story of the connection with SERE, and then how you created the club that you created.
Yeah. Late Arrival goes back all the way back to World War II. It was so you'd have your pilots taking off. It started with the Royal Air Force. They're bombing Germany. They're getting shot down, and the Late Arrival Club was formed around a brotherhood of gentlemen who successfully made it back without getting captured, or they did get captured and they escaped. It's usually a 400-mile journey. And it became kind of like a trauma bond between people. So many people became known as, hey, like, you're also a late arrival, welcome back. And it got to the point where Wing Commander George Hooton, funny.
I think we lost him.
Hey guys, so how you doing?
Mike, here's the thing. Let's get into the show. This is what we do. We do it live.
It's true.
We also have a cocktail of the week.
Yep.
So Mike's got a special cocktail, and we're gonna get this going. So Mike, it's time for your special cocktail of the week. This is the Mission Mixology.
All right. So, doing a little research, we kind of kicked it back and forth to each other. Last time you made it, obviously going to be pretty impossible to top. Doesn't mean I'm not going to try. So I did a little bit of research and found something I think that's kind of fitting on a couple of different levels. One being using some ingredients I have not used in a long time. So let me pull up the recipe here. This is actually called the Remember the Maine. So it's a classic drink. I believe it came around in the 1930s. At least it was documented that way. But this has, hopefully you guys can see our secondary camera here. It's got a little bit of absinthe in it. It's going to be a wash. It's got some sweet vermouth, so I grabbed the classic. It's got a little bit of, I've never actually had this before, but Hearing cherry liqueur. So we got that here as well. And then a little bit of a repeat, but for good reason, because I'm a #1 fan. We're using our rye again. It does call for rye. And then obviously topping it off with a little cherry there. If you guys are hearing any background noise, that's because we're in a bar right now because I'm making cocktails. It is on purpose, so don't worry. All right, I'm winging it partially following the recipe. The thing we're starting with is a little bit of an absinthe rinse. I'm gonna reuse this absinthe because we have 2 glasses, so I'm gonna pour that in first. And then I'm going to mix in our guy here. That's a beautiful green color if you guys can't see it. It's even showing up even though we're outside. That's wild. Last time I had absinthe, fun fact, was in Paris. And that was also the first time I had absinthe. All right, so we're gonna start with 2 ounces of rye. Throwing that in here. Measurements don't have to be exact. Make your cocktail the way you want to make your cocktail. You know what I'm saying? You guys know me. You know I always say that.
We did have some comments about the loud background noise.
Oh, good. I'm glad I addressed that. It's like I'm psychic or something. All right, so we're going to go with 3 1/4 ounce sweet vermouth. What a weird measurement. I'm going to go hopefully correct because I only have a 1 ounce measuring cup here, so that looks like 3/4-ish.
Mike, you're going to have to...
What?
No,
Just keep going. All right.
Make sure you speak into
Dude,
the
don't
mic.
interrupt me, man. I'm trying to speak into the mic, but I don't know where it sits on my shirt, so hopefully you guys can hear me, and if not, just pretend. And then we're going to do 2 teaspoons of our hearing liqueur here, which is a cherry liqueur. It smells freaking fantastic, but again, I've never had this, so I usually like my cocktails a little bit more on the bitter side and a little less sweet.
Yeah.
But we'll see how this rolls. I'm making it by the recipe, so...
So this is called Remember Maine, right?
Yeah, remember the Maine. So it was
Remember the
actually a storied history. I'll let you guys dive into that because I don't want to tell the story, I guess. But it seems like there's a couple of different history versions of where this cocktail originated. Part of it being the Cuban Rebellion and a couple of different kind of stories there. So some interesting history for sure. Definitely something to look into and check out. And then throw a little ice in here. Get us stirred. One of the other things, I believe he said clockwise. The originator of the recipe said to stir in a clockwise motion because that makes it seaworthy. I have no idea where that reference comes from, so if somebody does, please let me know in the comments. So we'll give that a little cool down.
Bro, we've got like 50 people watching us. I want to
Beautiful.
thank everyone.
Oh, yeah, well,
Share
yeah,
the
100%.
sincerity of my heart.
Listen,
who are
all I'm
sitting
saying is
watching us.
be on the lookout because any one of you could also be a future guest. So get ready for the
Yeah.
technical difficulties. I'm hoping.
There's a couple things that I think we can do to fix this, and we'll do those things. But I want to thank sincerely everybody that's watching this.
All right, so I'm doing a little rinse here.
Is that absinthe?
Yeah, absinthe. I'm switching it into my glass. So we got our rinse in your glass. I'm going to add our giant cube into your glass. That may have a few buddies attached, but that's okay. We're going to strain into your glass. Smells good. All right, and then I just got to add our little cherry on top here. You guys know how much I love these, and I do not waste an ounce of the juice or anything. This is typically what I put in as simple syrup in my old fashions. All right, John, I present you Remember the Maine. Technically, this is also supposed to be served in a stemmed glass. For those of you that don't know me, I tend to hate stemmed glasses. So we are doing it in a rocks glass because I want to. All right. So you want to talk me through what you're tasting? Because, again, I have not even tried this yet. So.
Hey, guess who's back?
We're back.
Cody.
Oh, Cody. What's up, buddy?
Relentless. The R
This is
stands
fun.
for recovery in SERE.
I think the R stands for relentless.
Relentless recovery.
Yeah, you're getting it, man. We appreciate you guys.
So, Cody, while we have you,
Until we
please,
lose you.
please tell us the history and the story behind Late Arrival Club. And maybe Brett, you'll have an opportunity to come and
I'm
join
going to
us
make
as well.
this quick. RAF soldiers getting shot down. Wing Commander George Houghton, or Houghton, authorizes the use of the wing boot. Looks like this for individuals who don't know what it looks like. Little cowboy boot with wings. And this signified their accomplishment from walking usually over 400 miles, evading Nazi Germany control and Axis powers, and making it back to Allied territory. And as you know, there's just a secret club of soldiers. If you were initiated into it, you were given like a full-on certificate and the boot and wing to wear on your uniform, right? And then it wasn't until 1943 where American pilots from the 8th Air Force started just adopting it as well, right? When we started assisting the UK and started bombing Germany as well. And the boot and wing was passed down throughout the generations, and until 1964, AFES, so the Air Force Escape and Evasion Society, they adopted it as their main logo. And then AFES, in Air Force history, have ultimately ended up becoming survival instructors and then SERE specialists. adopted originally from Green Berets and Rangers, from the Army Air Corps. And so, I mean, that's the history of just SERE and the wing boot. If you've been around Fairchild Air Force Base or the Air Force SERE School, you'd see that boot and wing literally everywhere. That's what we use today. And so when we were coming up with the Late Arrival Club, coming up with our concept for a cigar lounge, since Washington, you need to have basically a private club. We're kind of wanted to bond around our history, keep the legacy going, and we decided to name it the Late Arrival Club. We dropped the S because the original one is Late Arrivals Club. Just dropped the S just in case, you never know. But what's really cool is we still get families whose parents were actually shot down in World War II. We get RAF families who are like, hey, my dad died. We lost our boot and wing. Is there any way you guys could send us another one? So we've been super honored with being able to carry on the legacy of the boot and wing, and just have the legacy of where, ultimately where SERE started all the way back down to World War II.
Yeah. It was fascinating when we met and started talking about it, and how you branded the lounge around, and your passion for it was really unique. And we've had a lot of fun. And a fun fact here, Cody also designed the band.
Nice.
The whole band.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, the entire band. He asked me, I said, he's like, what do you want to do for the band? I'm like, well, I got some ideas. He's like, I've got some ideas too. He's like, I go, just let me know what you think, and I'll throw it into like Adobe Illustrator. He's like, if you just send me over like a template of kind of what you think for the measures, like, I'll just put it into Illustrator and design the thing. So he sent it back to me, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, thank God for the first, I'm working with somebody that knows how to use this. Not only use it, he uses it way better than I do.
Dude, you nailed it, by the way.
Yeah.
It looked really, really good.
Crushed it.
Oh.
Crushed it.
Thanks, man. There's a lot of serisms in it.
Yeah,
so
tell us a
obviously
little bit about it.
Yeah, you got the boot and wing from the original logo from World War II. If any of you guys are looking at the band personally, you'll see on the top and the bottom, you'll see little tick marks. They're a little tiny because of the size of the band, but those are actually compass coordinates. And so you got the degrees north and degrees south. And what I thought was really fun is if you flip the cigar upside down, it's got the same degree south, the exact opposite, 180. As if the compass, and that's to signify navigating throughout that long journey of evasion. Obviously, we got barbed wire for the POWs right next to the Late Arrival Club at the text. And then on the back of the cigar where the band glues together, you see you got the Houghton Young logo at the top. We got our logo for the club in the middle. But at the bottom, that's actually an empty runway to signify that your plane didn't come back, that they got shot down. And so, I just wanted to throw as much little history and nods to the actual events and what the real club represented inside of the band as possible. And so that's what we came up with.
Cody, I love that you did that, man. We're a huge fan of little Easter eggs and kind of like not hidden meanings, but meanings that you dive a little deeper. So that's really cool that you did that.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
So Brett, let's bring you on. By the way, this was all, I had notes of everything, and sometimes you got to go off script. So Brett, let's bring you on a little. Brett, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and what your involvement is with SERE, and I believe you're active duty currently, correct?
Yeah, so I think that's a great place to start. All of my opinions are not reflective of the U.S. Air Force. Disclaimer. So I'm still active duty. I'm just over 20 years. My entire career has been as a SERE specialist. As Cody mentioned earlier, like, we're the only AFSC or MOS in the Department of War that is solely dedicated to SERE and the preparation of isolated personnel through our entire career. So I've been doing that for 20 years. Like, quick rundown, I've worked bombers, F-22s. I spent a few years on the joint staff doing a lot of technology and planning for like crazy contingency stuff. Went out to Korea with the Special Operations Command out there, and then went to the Air Force's version of Top Gun out at Las Vegas. And now I'm back here at the survival school running a bunch of our programs locally. But throughout the years, I've just had a lot of great opportunities to work with technology and interact with a lot of, heavy hitting folks. Done a lot with JSOC throughout the years, and throughout that time, I got tied into a lot of like the emerging technology, like Cody. And 3 or 4 years ago, we got linked up, and we spent, a couple years communicating, just text, phone calls. And then when I got sent back up here to Spokane, we finally met, and Cody and I have been in constant communication since we've been back here, and trying to move the needle for the isolated person through the mechanism of SERE throughout that time. And it's just been a really great friendship and great relationship over the last few years. So try not to tell Cody that, go to his head.
No, we appreciate you guys' service, and especially your current service right now, Brett. And I wish Norm could be on here, because Norm is experienced this stuff firsthand. Now, this is where Cody and I talked a little behind the scenes. We were going to kind of pretend like this was just something cool that we were doing, like a one-time thing or whatever. And then we talked a little bit about, hey, should we pretend like we hadn't talked? We have a big plan around all this. And the reason I want to say this is because we're going to get another shot to have Norm on live on the show. Maybe we'll all do it in person this time, like Cody recommended the first time. Yeah. No, man, it'll be okay. We'll just stream live. But the purpose of this cigar in here is how the story started with Cody and I in Spokane. Is the same thing we have here. This is the beginning of a story and a beginning of an effort that we all are going to take part in together with Hoot and Young, with Cody, Late Arrival Club and SERE, and the SERE Association. And we have some fun concepts that we're working on to raise money for them as a partner. And how we're going to do that is through cigars. And Cody's going to design them.
Sweet.
Yep.
You get the stamp of approval from me already, man.
He's going to design them. The Late Arrival Club cigar is going to exist again. It will fly again. It's not just going to be part of the club. It will be a little bit later in the year, but this is a 3 or 4 step process that we've got going. And we are working on some concepts behind the scenes of a SERE project as well. So what this will involve is the Late Arrival Club cigar is what started it. We will be doing a series of events around the SERE cigar and telling the story of SERE with that. And then we will be going out to Spokane, Washington, Idaho, and doing some launch events with the cigars at retailers, and doing some parties and some galas and whatnot. We have a lot planned. And I know, Cody, you have some ideas behind this. If you want to share a little bit of your involvement with the association, and what you think this will look like, and then some of your concepts of what in your head, what you think the cigars may look like, because I know there's a lot of people on here that even if they're not what we're doing, just to be privy to some of the ideas and concepts we've been doing and talking behind the scenes. And lastly, this is something that's very on brand for us personally, and something that's very important to us to be a part of. And some of the different organizations you talked about, like JSOC and things like that. AFES was another one that we've been actively involved in, simply because of the group of founders that founded this company have been that involvement with that. So this is something really special that we're a part of, and something that this is the first step in the process. Thank God it's the first step, because if it's the final step, we'd be in a real bad shape.
Yeah, no, honestly, the SERE Association is important because, like many career fields in the military, gentlemen, whether it's through mental health or accidents or happenstance, sometimes families go through rough times. And the SERE Association is really there to help pick up the pieces, help out with the family, take care of them. They put on these really cool reunions every single year so that SERE specialists, survival instructors, and all the generations that came before us in time can meet together, talk about, and you guys have that saying that's made to remember, right? And that's really about the brotherhood of what the SERE Association is. It's helping each other out, remembering all the effort that everyone put into the community, and just remaining a community. And what better way to do that than cigars and smoking and hanging out with everybody. And so when we were chatting, when you were over here, and throughout on the phone, I thought, how cool would it be to be able to take your customers, the community, the SERE company, and really honor the tradition of what SERE was. Let's take you on the journey from the boot and wing all the way to World War II, and where that became. AFES is evasion and escape, but SERE, you have a couple of other letters in there. You've got survival, and you have resistance. And so how cool would it be to have a line of 5 cigars? You have the boot and wing, you have S for survival, you have E for evasion, resistance, and escape, and one cigar to represent the totality of all of those disciplines within the Department of War. You've got survival is the biggest thing, by itself. In the future warfighting, we're looking at some pretty gnarly survival situations. The evasion, you got the quote where I'd rather evade for 1,000 days in the wilderness than be captured for, spend one day in captivity. Resistance, no one wants to be in that situation, but we have fun with some like dark cigars, get a little moody with it, really nice, deep, oily Madura or something like that. And then escape, it goes back into the navigation, the long journey home, tying the loop back into the late arrival club and the boot and wing, a 400-mile journey to make it back to Allied territory and get recovered back to friendly forces. And so there's a lot of history in it. Anyone who's traveled overseas, been in a high risk situation, you've gone through a SERE school in your branch or in one way or another. And, it's one of those cool memories that you look back on during your service as a serviceman, servicewoman, being like, man, I went through something crazy, went through something difficult. And it's kind of one of those like, trauma bond experience. We can all look, around a campfire like you guys, like, hey man, let me tell you about my experience when I went through SERE. And there's always just some fun stories around that. And so, honestly, it's a huge shout out to you guys. A lot of grace and thanks to you guys for being willing to partner with us and the association and help out, our brothers in that effort.
I want to jump in real quick.
Just
I know you got something to say, but
I always have something to say.
yeah, I know. But dude, that submission is, if I'm picking up nuance here, is exactly kind of something John and I and the company at Hoot and Young try and focus on, is bringing back the brotherhood, right? Because something that can be missed, especially if you served, is that you might come back home and the guys that you served with might be of half a world away, right? So you kind of feel disconnected. Right. And that's something we do to try and bring people together. So the fact that you're doing this exact same is just, speaking volumes to the mission that we're trying to accomplish. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think one thing that I would just throw on there is like the SERE side of stuff is very much kind of an unsung side, like almost an insurance policy where nobody ever wants to use it, but when the chips are down, these guys will remember the SERE guys that they've worked with 10, 15 years after the fact, because although it's, the worst experience or the best experience they never want to repeat, it sticks with these guys. And, we're kind of holding to a commitment of the Department of War in that, like, we're, as a career field, we are fully committed to bringing home everybody who has ever shot down or captured behind enemy lines, and making sure that commitment to those forces taking that risk is honored at all costs. Mm-hmm. And I think, the Air Force does it really well in that we have that dedicated career field where we're committed to them, not only in their initial training, but all the way throughout their career, anytime we're putting them at risk. And I think that's something that Cody has really captured in this, is like, we are building to bring back every American who's ever lost. And even though we may be Air Force, like, we're honoring that commitment across the joint force as kind of that advocate for anybody that's, isolated or captured, regardless of branch of service.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I'd say, any SERE specialist worth his salt, SERE instructor, in past times, we've got a couple of guys who join teams. We got a couple of guys who, sit at joint staff, but SERE is the living embodiment of no one left behind, and that's the mission, and that's the focus. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what SERE is today. For those of you guys who haven't been introduced to it yet.
Was this something for either of you? Was this something that were you aware of prior to your service, or was it when you got involved in it you started becoming more passionate about it, and it just became a natural part of what you were doing?
Yeah. Well, I can speak for myself. I knew exactly what SERE was, and moreover, I knew exactly what within SERE I wanted to do. So, I mean, we're gonna roll back the clock. I have a fairly unique story. One of the first places I ever lived as a young adult was a tool shed of a recon Marine. I mentioned earlier in this stream that a recon Marine really inspired me to join the military. But when I was a young kid, I lived in his tool shed in his backyard in the back gate of Camp Pendleton. And he was always trying to convince me to join recon Marines with him, they're a wild group. I must say Marines are crazy. I've had a lot of fun hanging out with them and everything. But when I was in that tool shed watching TV long ago, there was a Hulu TV show called Survival School. And it basically was just about the pipeline of becoming a SERE specialist in the Air Force. I mean, there was a time and place of history where for whatever weird reason, the attrition rate of a SERE specialist in the Air Force was greater than that of a Navy SEAL. Like we were graduating like 0 people in a year, which was outrageously crazy. So they created a TV show about it. They followed people around, and I thought that was pretty freaking cool. Let's go do survival. Let's be out in the woods. Let's teach people how to create fire. The American version of Bear Grylls. Like who wouldn't want to do that for a job? That sounds awesome. But, as any responsible person, you do research into your career field that you want to get into. And one of those letters of SERE is resistance. That's the R, right? And I thought, you know what? How cool would it be to join the military and do something that you would never be able to do in your entire civilian life, no matter how hard you wanted to try? And let's try to see what we could do with the resistance, as a career. And when you join, you kind of end up doing little pieces of everything. You hit all those letters in the acronym in the Air Force. But the R and resistance training and doing some resistance labs, and really on the innovation side, when I hit that was where the money was for me. That's where I really put my passion into, and trying to make sure that the future IP and the future wars are set up on that front. But I don't know. Did you know about SERE back in your 20 years ago?
So I grew up in Northwest Minnesota. I was a farm kid, always out in the wilderness. And when I decided to join the Air Force, I knew I was going to do something unique. Initially, I thought about pararescue. And 20 years later, I can't be more thankful that I'm not in pararescue. That's a whole nother conversation. But I initially was looking at pararescue, combat control, and SERE, and I landed on SERE. And, kind of the journey there, I came in for it. When I went to basic training, I was guaranteed an opportunity. And quitting was never an option. And I think when you boil it right down to everything, right, it's that insurance salesman, and I tend to be fairly altruistic about stuff. And I've had the opportunity to affect people for generations to come that I can't even, fully explain. But being able to help people be ready for the worst day of their life has been super rewarding. And throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to be one of the last people guys talk to before they, go out and fly fighter jets against ISIS, or go out and, potentially strike targets in foreign countries, and, helped plan missions to save American lives, as well as make sure that the team is covered down on when they go out in these countries that we really don't have a footprint in. And every time I've had the opportunity to do those different things and shape how our posture is for the entire, Department of War for executing missions where we're going to ask people to go out and do incredibly difficult tasks with no promise of coming home, being the person that they turn to and look for, like, how is this going to be okay if everything else goes wrong? It's really been super rewarding to me. And like every day I wake up, I'm like, I can affect how these guys live and return, and avoid those black eyes for the U.S. government that we had in, Vietnam and Korea and stuff like that. And so for me, it's really, I won't say that I was super passionate when I started, but every day I'm doing it, I'm super passionate about it and the long-term impact that I can have on these folks, even if it's not something that anybody really values prior to somebody getting shot down. And just knowing some of the folks, like I've had people come up to me 20 years after I trained them, or 15 years after I trained them, and be like, you were my instructor, like you helped me before we went out and flew these missions. And I've had a great opportunity, like I worked with all the guys that struck the targets in Iran a couple months prior to all that stuff earlier this year. I've gotten to work with several different JSOC units before they went out on really high-risk missions. And knowing the gratitude they had, even though they didn't need it, has been super rewarding. It drives me every day to keep up that, good fight for them and push that direction.
It's interesting. One thing you said that I think is really important is preparing people for their worst day, right? How in civilian life we don't really prepare for the worst. We're prepared for when it's great, but you're not prepared for when it's the worst. And in those situations, you're helping those people for a day that they probably won't see, but if they do, they'll be ready for it. So that's such a powerful statement in itself. And then you mentioned on a unique note with you mentioned the mission in Iran, Midnight Hammer. We actually did a Midnight Hammer cigar, which was really cool. I think it was one of the more attention grabbing products that we did.
That thing was cool as hell. The way you guys did the little frills at the bottom of it.
Thank you. Yeah.
When
and we're careful when we pick certain missions because it's important to us to not overstep things because we're not here to benefit off the military. The military is just what built the company, and built the mentality behind it. So there's certain missions, like we had people that asked about if we were going to do one with the the Venezuelan mission with Maduro, and it was like, just because there's a mission that happens doesn't mean that we're going to do it. And every mission's important, but when we pick missions, we realistically, you're picking ones that connect with people on a very different level. We talk about growing up as kids, like none of us, everyone on the planet I know thinks B-2 bombers are cool. And it's such a unique mission. And that's why for me, and then I'm bringing this full circle, that's why I think this project that we're doing here, this show we're doing tonight is so important for what we're doing and what we bring attention to, is because this is something that's real. This is not just, hey, the B-2 bomber is really cool and I identified with that. This is something that is important to the people that are protecting our country, that when something bad happens, that they have the best tools they can to protect themselves and the best tools for them to survive in those environments. So I don't think there's anything that we can bring more attention to than this. Is basically what you said there, Brett. You prepare people for their worst day, and we as a society and we as cigar smokers, we as a cigar and whiskey company can do something together where we can help support that cause and help support those people that come back after. And then have challenges with it. April, for example, April's POW month. And that's going to be one of the next times we're going to do we'll do a show for that. We'll record the show and then have it stream live. But that's a really important month for us. And so we're gonna have Cody and Brett. You're always welcome on to come and have some cigars with us. I know you guys can't smoke tonight because you're out in the non-smoking section to provide us some quiet. But I think that's why this for me was so unique and so important, because of that statement that Brett made. Like, this is preparing people for the worst day.
Dude, 100%, Brett. And same thing, that resonated with me. I mean, just a little diatribe. I told John this story a couple of days ago, which is ironic because it's a mutual friend of ours that we've known for, I don't even, 20 plus years at this point as well. Like, it's CPR, right? It's like one of those things you don't pay attention to, you don't feel like you need, blah, 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 until you do. And a shortened version of this is, I mean, 20 years ago, we used to do road trips, and it was three guys. We're sitting at a table. I'm one of the guys, and one of our buddies didn't chew his steak and swallowed it down the wrong hole. Needless to say, I mean, this is early 20s us, right? So a bunch of nincompoops. Lucky enough, one of the guys that we were with is a trained paramedic and firefighter and is now a lieutenant and, you know, so on and so forth. But recognized the signs of my buddy choking and was like, hey, are you choking? Obviously, he can't communicate. He didn't know the sign for choking, which if anybody's choking, this is the sign that you're choking. So had him stand up out of the booth that we were in and literally saved his life in front of me. So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you kind of take for granted that education until it's necessary. So exactly to your point, it's like, you hope you never need it, but good Lord, when you do, you're grateful you have it. So.
Yeah. And that's a lot of what we drive at, right? Like, I mean, admittedly, stop, drop, and roll based on how many times I've been taught that in my life. I would have thought I'd been on fire at least once by now, but the hope is you never need it, right?
Yep.
But we have we've got about 600 roughly SERE specialists in the Air Force who are assigned with our high-risk folks, not only in the Air Force, but in SOCOM and key joint positions to ensure that planning and that readiness is there so that whenever they go out the door on these missions, we have a plan to bring them home, regardless of what the enemy chooses to vote on that night.
You know, the only thing we didn't do when the beginning of the show was going up in flames was stop, drop, and roll. If there's ever going to be a time that we'll need that, it'll be on Fireside Live. That's the next thing. We'll have all the technical stuff worked out. The show will be going great, and then one of us is going to catch on friggin' fire.
We're gonna get sponsored by a fire. What are those things called?
A fire extinguisher.
Yeah,
company.
Fire extinguisher company.
Yeah. A unique thing for me, a question I got is, how does it? So my cousin went through SERE school. He went through it once. He was a combat photographer in the Navy, and I can't remember which school he went to. It might have been in San Diego, where he's based out of. But is this a program that the majority of combat troops go through, or is this something that's reserved just for special ops, or is there different tiers where there's more intensive schools based off of what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, I'll let you go.
So each service has their definitions on who requires the training. So I'll speak specifically to the Air Force, and then I'll broaden out a little bit. So the Air Force, the way we do it is we look at what we call high risk of isolation individuals. So that's anybody flying on an airplane as their primary job, any of our battlefield airmen or special warfare folks, so like pararescue, combat control, tactical air control, partymen, those career fields, they all go through the full training. And then we have a lower level for like our military police type folks, where they're not quite they're moderate risk. So they don't go through quite as much. And then when you go to like the Army, they have 2 or 3 different schools. So they've got like a helicopter school, a general forces school, and then their soft school. JSOC has their own specialized course. So anybody that goes into JSOC goes through a very specialized one for their mission sets. And then the Navy runs a couple.
SERE West and East.
Yeah, they run one in Maine and one in San Diego. So there's a lot of kind of adaptation behind it. The Marines have a MARSOC one, and then they also have like a General Force Marine course. So each service kind of applies the principles to their need. Um, and I think one of the things that we've already brought up, but like the Air Force is the only service that has made a dedicated MOS out of it. And if you look at a lot of the cadre at those other schools, oftentimes when they have contractors teaching their course, they specifically seek out Air Force guys to run their school and their curriculum because the specialty the Air Force provides behind that.
I think it's also important to note that the Air Force has hosted and owned the mission of personnel recovery in general across the Department of War for quite a while.
Yeah, we're the only service with a dedicated personnel recovery force. So we have our combat search and rescue force that their only mission is combat search and rescue, and that's a Black Hawk variant as well as pararescue. You know, and you go to the other services, and the Marines have their trap teams, and the Army will have their QRF typically, and you've got other versions of that. You know, the Navy's got search and rescue helicopters, but they're not intended for combat. They're more of a, you know, down pilot out in the ocean. They just fly out and pick them up type stuff. So the Air Force really has the majority of the forces on any sort of combat isolation for the entire joint force. It typically lands on the Air Force to cover down on that for most circumstances.
And then it escalates, you know, to answer your question, from General Force as the more special that you get, you know, you like the joint agency training stuff, and you know, the JPRA is the governing body of most of the you know, the Joint Personnel Recovery Authority, the government. So they do some squirrely cool stuff, but it does escalate. Your job is.
So we talk a lot. You know, we got a lot of historians on the team here and in the ownership group, and there's a big recovery effort going on right now for the. We lost them. They'll come back. There's a big recovery effort going on right now for the final remains of those that served in Vietnam, and I'm curious as if SERE must be involved in that. Cody, the question what we were talking about was there's a big discussion internally. There's this big operation going on to recover the final remains of those that served in Vietnam and died there. Is SERE involved in that recovery aspect?
Yep. Yeah. Brett knows more of that. I wasn't one of the individuals, but you know, one of my teammates and a couple of my peers deploy quite often to, you know, do those missions and recovery missions, bring back home the remains. Again, you know, it's the moral commitment we've made to every single serviceman, is no one is left behind, and so that mission continues on, and we still hunt down the remains and bring them home, and, you know, bring closure to those families.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's amazing me. And, you know, Norm's backstory that's public with, you know, with service in Gothic Serpent, that was one of the big themes of that mission, that being a complete mess, was they didn't leave anybody behind. You know, a lot of the men that lost their lives were there back going to get people. And
you want to talk about real quickly about the mission about us still recovering remains in Vietnam?
Yeah, that's we were telling Brett. That's a big discussion we have internally. We got another guy on our team that's a Green Beret. Well, we have two, Norm and one of the other gentlemen, and he's super passionate about the Vietnam, because I guess it's time sensitive, right?
Yeah, so there is still and I don't know offhand how many POW MIA are not returned, but it's the Defense Personnel Accountability Agency, so DPAA, runs programs continuously anywhere that we have suspected MIA or, you know, non-returned Americans. So I actually just had a guy that works for me went out to Somewhere in Southeast Asia, I'm blanking on it for a second, but I'll hit it here. He went out and essentially they clear cut a section of jungle in, it's an island in Southeast Asia. I'm blanking on it, but they clear cut a section of jungle and essentially they go into a full-fledged like archaeological site where they're excavating the jungle after they cut down all the trees and looking for the remains of American soldiers that were held there during different conflicts. They're doing that in Laos and Cambodia and Vietnam even today. And it's a major Department of State initiative where they broker these deals to allow us to go in there, and we send teams out for essentially like what would otherwise be a combat deployment. So, 6 months of these guys living in tents, clear cutting jungle, and excavating sites where a suspected POW camp was.
Well, and some of
And
those can still be mined and stuff, right? Like, I mean, that's not just cutting down trees. I mean, that's a potentially extremely dangerous job, right?
yeah, there's a lot of danger in that. It's killing me. I can't think of the island right there, but they have like one of the most poisonous snakes in the world, and they went out and they found a site where it was a suspected World War II prisoner camp, and like there's a lot of dealing with the indigenous, and the island I'm thinking of, they have cannibals, and I don't know. It's killing me right now, but yeah, they go out every year. They still have some teams throughout Europe, but they're drawing down on that. And Southeast Asia, it's a very active thing. Even parts of Korea, obviously North Korea is off limits. They're not going to let us go in there. But South Korea, they're looking for folks. And then throughout like the Pacific theater from either Vietnam or World War II, they're very active in searching for the remains of those folks and repatriating them to the U.S. to give closure to their families.
Yeah, it's one thing that we were talking about was the I guess some of the DNA data is the way that the DNA works. Some of the DNA functions that are required, that there's like this time frame now, and this is why the Vietnam is so unique, is that they must get them now within a short period of time to be able to officially identify who it is and what it was. So it's fascinating. And the thing for me that's great is you look at this, and these altercations and wars, I mean, these were 50, 60 years ago, and we're still making those efforts. And it's really, I would like to think, if Mike and I are both civilians, but I'd like to think, if I served, and also the country that I'm very red, white, and blue, obviously with George Washington off to the side here. But I would like to think that it provides a level of comfort and at some level, right? Where it's, hey, my country's behind me. My country is going to be behind me even when I'm not here. I'm not lost. I'm just, as you said, just a late arrival. Or I'm not lost, and I'm not done just because I'm captured, or because I died in battle, where the country's still going to be behind it. It would be very easy for any of these countries. I'm sure, we can name any endless Middle Eastern countries that wouldn't do any of this. And this is not to target one, but like, just look at the mentality of it. We're certainly the leaders in the planet. And I just think it's a really ethical thing, and a really humane thing that must provide some level of comfort, in my opinion.
I'd even double down on that, and this might be slightly insensitive, but I would say, like the civilian perception sometimes, not just with America, any country that's sending soldiers off to war, sometimes those individuals can be labeled as numbers. And I think you guys really, what you're doing makes sure that that's not a thing, right? Like, it is a person. we're making sure you're getting home, you're not forgotten. Like, I mean, it really brings the humanity back to the difficulties of war, right? Not talking bad about anything, but you know, we don't want to see anyone die ever, right? So making sure that you guys are that what you're doing is bringing the humanity back to the inhumane. So that's huge.
I mean, there's a saying in a SERE specialist career field is that at least one to four of your students in your lifetime of your career will be shot down at some point or have some sort of isolating incident. And so when you have that in the back of your head as a SERE specialist, every single troop, you know, group that you take out to the woods or you do RT or whatever with, you're training them to the best of your absolute capabilities and giving them everything you possibly can, because that isn't, you know, it's not a number. That's Joe, that's Steve, that's who I'm sitting here spending a week in the woods with. Those are my peers, you know, and more importantly, that's our red, white, and blue. Those are our folks. And so if that day ever comes, it's just another thing. Hey, we got to go get Steve back. Like, what do we got? What are the assets in the area? What can we do? And that's the game to play.
You know, and I think even like referencing like high profile things, like even Bo Bergdahl, like I know people have lots of feelings about him, but like guys from our career field were following his case from day one until he got home. And once he got back, like they surrounded him and made sure that he got everything possible to get back into American society. And, you know, all the politics and, you know, the backside of that story withstanding, there was a team devoted to bringing him home and making sure that he was okay, regardless of the circumstances of how he ended up there, right?
Right.
And there's numerous other examples from across the war on terror where the same level of devotion to those folks was used without getting into the how or the why of them in that situation, because like we have a commitment as Americans to those forces, and we can do all the politics after we get them home.
Right.
But ultimately, like, we committed to them and everybody that follows them to honor that commitment of bringing them home alive and making sure that we do it in the best way possible.
Yep. So guys, we're gonna lighten this up a little bit. I'm gonna show the club video, what was in the box. We have some new viewers here, and then we'll get back and we're gonna talk some cigars. We're gonna talk some whiskey, and then we'll wrap the show up here in a little bit.
Before you do that, real quick, just shout out to the chat. If you guys have any questions you want to ask these guys, throw them up in the chat, and we'll make sure we get to that. So.
Let the games begin.
So yeah, we just reviewed the cigars we got in the club this month. I'm smoking the From America with Love right now. I wrapped up the Late Arrival. Cody, are you happy with that cigar? I know you're not smoking it now, but you have had it. Are you happy with it? Oh man, we lost him right at the time. He was
I just want you guys to know that are viewing right now, we haven't talked about how delicious the drink is, but John asked me for one when we were watching the video. So, nailed it.
Yeah, and we'll get Cody and them back on here. We were connected. Well, every time I think the challenge here is every time we process something that's not normal, right? It should be normal. We show a video and then it freezes after. So I think we might need to upgrade this computer. It might be the thing. The Cigar Ops Club is overriding, taking over the computer here. So yeah, I asked for another cocktail. When Cody and Brett come back, we're gonna do some cigar trivia with them. They should be back on in a second here because just showed they logged off. They'll log back in. So we're gonna do some cigar trivia. We're gonna ask them some cigar questions. We're gonna ask them what they like to smoke,
Ooh,
what they like to
that's a good
drink.
one.
And before Cody froze again, we asked what Cody. I know you've smoked. You didn't get to smoke tonight, right now, but have you been enjoying the late arrival club cigar? Did we do well?
Yeah, dude, absolutely. You cannot go wrong with the Nicaragua. You know, I mean, that stuff is just too delicious. Doesn't matter if it's, you know, Maduro, Connecticut, and anything. Nicaragua is just one of my absolute favorites. Honestly, I mean, you get. I've had between buying the box and then the samples you gave me, I'm down to one left, and I'm like saving it. There's not enough of them for me to smoke. You know, granted, I've got a smoking problem now. I'm at like 5 to 6 a day, but
No problem.
that was absolutely delicious. You guys nailed it, and oh man, I can't wait to be able to buy and order more.
I've been making Cody give me some of his until my box gets here. So
We took it. I like cut it in half, and we've been sharing these cigars because.
So you know what? I was curious. You're a member of the club too, Brett, right?
I am, yes.
I thought when he said Brett, I go, I know there's a Brett that we have out in that same area. I wonder if it's the same Brett, and it is. I just want to let people know that I keep their private information private. I didn't go in and search and log in or anything. I did it the other day with one of our operating partners. He sent me his address, and I said, "Bro, I already have your address." He's like, "How'd you get my address?" And I said, "I looked up on the website on the back end and took your address. I go and used it to get to your house." And he's like, "Oh, all right, cool." But yeah. So yours should be in soon. And so you'll be able to give Cody a couple more before I get him taken care of. I may have some to sneak out to you.
But I do have to give a shout out to my wife because she's such a good partner. We came to the opening night here, and Cody had been trying to get me to sign up for the Late Arrivals Club. We came to the opening night, and by the end of the night, she's like, "You're welcome," and she signed me up for that. And then I sent her the link to your guys' club just to like have the conversation. And there was no conversation. I just get a confirmation email that I'm signed up for that too. So, you know,
Keep her around. She's a good one.
Nice.
Yeah. League.
So,
yeah, club member, baby.
Nice. There
nice.
you go.
Did you get your coins? You know, where's Mike? Would you steal mine?
I did.
All right. Now
I
got the late arrival club.
Oh,
there you go. It's
know, when I meet Cody, I'll get one of those.
So yeah, that was a real special blend. I love that size personally. I know you and I went back and forth on some sizes, and ultimately you're like, just do what you think. And I love that size cigar. It's like a fat Corona essentially. Beautiful size, smoked great. Thought it was awesome. I'm really happy with how it looked. It was a really cool design. What I guess is a question for both of you. I'll start with you, Brett. What I was probably the answer is probably military. What got you into smoking cigars?
Afghanistan.
Yeah. Do you remember what your first cigar was while you were serving?
I don't remember where my first was, but I was deployed to, I had smoked a little bit before, but then I went to free fall school in San Diego out at local Lake Otay, and I was staying in Old Town, and I found Churchill Cigars in San Diego.
Great spot.
And I smoked a lot during free fall school, and then I went to Afghanistan immediately following that. And when you can't drink and you've got, you know, random attacks at any given time of the day, like the only way to unwind was we would start a giant fire out in our compound on Camp Alpha in Bagram. And me and a couple of the guys there, we'd smoke every single evening. And I came home and like I was fully committed. And I was smoking regularly there for a few years after I got out of Afghanistan. And I really found the community and the camaraderie around it, you know, as we progressed with military assignments and stuff. And, you know, a little bit after that, I kind of died down on it, but I've really picked back up because, like, the community here at the club is incredible, and meeting people and associating with people that I wouldn't see in my normal, military life has been incredible. Thanks,
It's
Brett.
it's interesting. You the premium cigar industry has been a big part of active duty and veterans, and a big part of a lot of military careers. And there's great associations and groups like Cigars for Warriors. There's other ones like Cigars for Troop. There's tons of different things that you do, and the cigar industry's really embraced it as a whole, and not just the industry, the consumers. We live here in Orlando. There's a big cigar retail called Corona Cigar Company. It's where Mike and I started smoking cigars 23 years ago. And they always have a box up front where people drop in cigars. And by the way, I'll tell you at Corona, man, there's some really good cigars that get dropped in there,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
And I that's for consumers to leave cigars in, which is really cool. And it's really been a consumer-driven thing. At the same time, the manufacturers. So when you have consumers, the brand owners, manufacturers behind it, it's real special. And to be honest, it's a really smart business decision. Just basically, as you just said, like when you can't drink, and how do you escape from the day? Grab a cigar, smoke. When you come back, you remember that, right? You remember what you enjoyed. I'm sure there's brands you remember, or different sizes, shapes, or countries of origin. And it's a really just great thing to do. And I think part of it, as we said, is that brotherhood. There's a camaraderie around cigars that doesn't exist anywhere else. And the closest thing I've seen to it is like the concept behind military. I think the military aspect and the veteran aspect is way more authentic than the cigar side. You make a connection with somebody, you become a brother over cigars and stuff like that. But what better connection to someone that served or served with you, is actively serving? You sit down and have a conversation. Because what we talk about is cigars bring people together from different walks of life. And it's really hard to have an argument with somebody when you're sitting down to have a cigar, because that's your moment to relax, right? So you sit down, you relax, you escape, you become agreeable. And it's just really a positive thing. And I've loved, over the 18 years I've been in the cigar business, support it. And now the last year, being involved in a veteran-owned company, it's founded, with a really unique story and that real connection. I know Mike echoes this a lot. I've been in the business for 18 years, almost 20, in cigars, and I've never worked with anyone quite like what I do when I work with Norm Hooten and the team at Hooten Young. And just the people that you run into, and the connections that they have with you, because that connection with that person, it's kind of like, if Norm Hooten says you're good type of a thing. Agreed. And I don't take that for granted. And I think that's such a unique thing that you have. And I think cigars really do connect with that. And that's what I say, Cody. So Cody, how did you get into it? You were probably bored one day. You were probably bored one day and just was like, let me get into cigars and learn everything I can about it.
Yeah, you're not too far off. My journey with cigars started at 15. I was working at a fucking pizza place. Sorry for my French.
Me beat. I was 16. You got me beat. Yeah.
Dude, 15, and the cook, kept taking a 10-minute smoke break, like every 20 minutes. Like he's just always gone, I got to take my smoke. And I'm like, he's leaving me there for the shop. I'm like, well, what the hell? I want an extra break. He's like, well, you don't smoke. I came back the next day. I'm like, I smoke now. And it was so it was with pipes, and it was really just a way to get me into getting extra breaks. So I started with aromatics and pipes, and that's kind of like the gateway that I use with the members on the fence with smoking cigars, because actually quite a few of our members here at the club don't smoke, but I get people in, the aromatics. It drew me in. It's sweet, smells good. You can't go wrong with a pipe. But it wasn't until the military, and I couldn't sit there and baby a pipe anymore. I needed a stick to go, and honestly, it became my morning ritual. Wake up, get out of my little shelter, light a cigar, and just kind of relax and do some training with a stick. But that's kind of my journey. It really took into effect coming out here. Quest Casino, it was really me and my wife Jeannie. It was our first sense of community when we got stationed out here. We knew no one. Team was a bit competitive, so unfortunately I didn't bond with too many of the other couples on our team. But Cigars, though, was our safety net. That was our salvation over there. So we would go to Quest Casino every Tuesday. They had this membership club, and as a ritual, we would go. And it was funny. The group of friends we made, they're all older than us, but we all dreamed of one day having a
So I think I've confirmed the issue.
Yep.
Did you just see what I did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. We're going to need a new computer mic. And I don't know if Nick Saputo is still watching. But if Nick is still watching, we may need to talk. Guys, I figured out the problem here.
Multitasking.
Yeah, I figured out the issue with our stream here. And I'd asked Mike. We heard most of your story, Cody, but I asked Mike, I said, "Did you just see what I did?" He goes, "Yeah, I saw what you did." And all I did is I tried to do something other than what we're doing here, and it caused an issue. So I think that's a CPU issue that we might have. Yeah, we're gonna have to fix that. It's fun, man.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first cigar you ever smoked?
Yeah, dude, honestly, I think if I'm going to go way back, it was a Swisher Sweet that I can't even call it anymore. But it was a Swisher Sweet that one of my buddies, we doing hooligan kind of crap. We were out riding motorcycles late at night, dropped in for very late night burritos in San Diego, and drinking Four Locos, and some dude pulls out Swisher Sweets, and I was like, I'll take one, and because I don't like cigarettes and never have been. So when the dude pulled out Swishers, I was like, I got to do something. I got to be a part of the group. So yeah, give me a Swisher, and that was my first kind of like fake cigar, if you will. I mean, I don't know if it's a cigar or not, but
technically,
that's probably first.
At least it wasn't a White Owl, man. That's a step up. You're good.
one of my dad's first cigar was a White Owl. Yeah, he's old. That was a big dude. That was a big ass,
100%.
big brand.
So Swisher Sweet.
It was
man, everywhere.
Well, no, but White Owl was a huge old school brand. It was Cuban back in the day. It was a Cuban brand. Mike, you remember your first cigar?
Yeah.
By the way, anyone who says they can't hear us, you are sniffing, hacking, and coughing.
I'm sorry, guys.
Every time I sniff, I see it connect up my sniffing.
I'm sorry.
So what was your first cigar?
In like negative degree weather for 10 days. So coming back to Florida, my lungs are like, what is humidity?
One of the best features of Fireside Live is about to happen. The train.
Yeah, that's a constant feature. It'll be our recurring guest forever. Apologies.
Here we go. No, it actually brings character to the show.
I'm gonna let it go.
We got to have you guys out here in the real woods underneath the cat canopy, parachute.
This is the woods. What are you talking? You don't have trains in your woods?
Everyone's warned me, man. It sounds like a blast. We'd love to, and we'll get this show's turned out really well, to be honest with you. This has been great. But so Mike, your first cigar.
Yeah, we talked about it last time, but my first was at the ripe age of 16. It was during OJT. I'm not sure if you guys have that, but you get to leave high school a little bit early for on-the-job training. I did not have work that day, so I went left, bought a guitar amp because I was playing guitar at the time. It was my first real amp. I had my pickup truck, and a buddy of mine went down a couple of weeks before to South America where his family is and brought back a couple of boxes of 5-packs of Cohiba Cuban Lanceros and asked me if I wanted one. So my first cigar was a Cohiba Lancero from Cuba, so that was
really
epic.
My first cigar was a CAO flavor Cherry Bomb.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Cherry Bomb in college. And then we started smoking like Eileen's Dream. And then my first real cigar was a Romeo and Juliet Cuban.
Yep.
First real. However, my first physical tobacco product was a Swisher Sweet as well.
There you go.
Yeah, I was 19 years old. I was senior year of high school. I had my first cigar, first tobacco product, and my first alcoholic beverage. I had a Mike's Hard Lemonade and a cigar. I had 3 Mike's Hard Lemonade. My sister thought I was gonna die. I wasn't hammered or anything and drunk. She's like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "You're gonna be hungover," and I'm like, I go, "No, it tastes like lemonade." I don't know what happened. I mean, my metabolism was nuts, dude. I was 19 years old. Like 3 Mike's Hard Lemonades was nothing. I've had 2 drinks tonight, and I feel like my head's gonna fall off. But
absinthe.
But yeah, So it's cool. It's cool origin stories, and I said truly, cigars bring people in different walks of life. So I'm super excited about this partnership that we got going forward. I got a lot of great ideas. You have a lot of great ideas. We all do. And we're going to connect them all together and really create something special. However, it's cigar trivia time, and we're going to wrap this show up after cigar trivia. But here's some fun trivia questions. We're going to let you guys answer first. So it goes from hard. There's some that are easy. But what U.S. president made the Churchill size? Even this is ridiculous. It's not even the right answer. It's not even the right answer.
Let him guess anyways.
I was going to say, what cigar size was made famous from a non-U.S. dignitary and politician? It was specifically named after him. What person made that famous?
Churchill.
Yeah, Winston Churchill. Yeah. That's an easy
That
one.
was
Let's
hard.
get a warm up.
Yeah, nailed it.
All right, here we go. What natural material is traditionally used to light cigars in a type of product called a spill? What type of wood?
Oh, damn.
So a spill is like a little piece of wood that you would light it up.
I think they said it.
Is that your final answer?
Spanish cedar.
Spanish cedar. Yeah.
More refined than you are. Look at you, buddy.
What country? This is important. So this is going to be a two-part question. We're going to ask the first one. So what country is widely known and considered to be the most famous producer of premium cigars in the world?
Oh shoot! Is it Nicaragua? What point of time?
All time.
Great question.
All time. I'm not saying the biggest, the best, or whatever. I'm just saying what's widely and wildly, honestly, thought to be the most prestigious cigar creating country in the world.
It's got to be Cuba then. Yeah.
Cuba's the answer to that question. Here's the second part. What country overtook Cuba as the largest exporter of premium cigars in the world? This has happened in the last about 20 years.
And it's got to be either Nicaragua or Ecuador, one of the two.
Nicaragua.
Mike?
Oof. Exporter of cigars, not tobacco.
Exporter of cigars, not tobacco. Ecuador's a great one. That's a great answer. It's not the right answer. They export a ton of tobaccos. They do a ton of wrapper leaves.
I'm torn, but I'm gonna go Nicaragua as well.
It's Nicaragua.
Okay.
Yeah, #1 producer of premium cigars in the entire world. Numero uno. It's wild, man. I ran a Dominican cigar company for about 15 years, and one of the best. And when I started working with a Nicaraguan maker and partnered with Z and started working on blends and things with them and him, I learned so much because Nicaragua's got this diverse topography. They got mountains, hills, this, that. The majority of tobacco in Dominicans grown in this one valley called the Cibao Valley. In Nicaragua, you have Jalapa, Condega. You have all these crazy different areas. And the tobacco, the soils are different, and the growing techniques are different. The sunlight's different. It's very similar to like Napa Valley grapes. Right. There's so much that's into it. And when I started to get involved this last year and a half, really getting into Nicaraguan tobacco, not just on a smoking level, but on a learning curve, it was showing to me like, okay, no wonder Nicaragua is so expanded so much and become that because there's so much diversity that you can have in the agricultural side of it. All right, last question here. In traditional cigar factories, this is historic, they used to have people that would read stories aloud to rollers while they worked. What was that position called?
I'm a loss on that one, buddy.
The orator.
Yeah, the gesture.
Como se dice en español?
Pretty close. Yeah. Como se dice en español? Lector.
Ah, there you go.
The lector.
I think you get that.
Lector is
I
also
honestly
English, I think, too.
Yeah, I think you get that.
Yeah, lector. I think, we're going to give you that one there. One other fun question. We'll just leave this at that. I said that was the last one. We got another fun one here. This is called hard. What are the three main components inside a premium handmade cigar? What are the three parts that make up a cigar?
filler wrap and
You got it. You got it.
You got it.
Keep going. What was it?
He said it faster than me.
filler binder wrapper.
Wrapper
Nailed it.
binder filler. Yeah,
Nailed it.
perfect. This one's really tough. And we'll leave it this one. What Cuban cigar size? Because Cuban cigar sizes are what kind of dictate all the sizes. Now the
Traditional.
change of different names now. This was the originally. It's called a Laguita number 2 now, but originally it wasn't. What Cuban cigar size traditionally measures 7 inches with a 47 ring gauge
Ooh.
and is known as a Churchill?
Oh,
The original name for it, Laguita number 2, is one of the sizes. So I gave you a hint here. It's number 2, but it's another name. I didn't know this until tonight.
I was like, the first part of that question, I would have said Churchill, 7x47, but
It is. It's known as a Churchill, but it was the original Cuban size.
I don't know if I've even heard this before.
Did you see it?
Mm-mm.
The answer?
I can't read
It's
that.
called a Julieta number 2,
Oh,
which is interesting.
does it have anything to do with Romeo and
Julieta
Julieta?
and then Laguita. Laguita is kind of close to it, so I think it's just a number 2, but
Interesting.
they threw names behind it. But so some fascinating, fun little cigar trivia there for us tonight. But we'll get this wrapped up. As I said, we got some fun things on the way. We're gonna do the next show we do, guys. We'll do another show and we'll record it. We're still doing this whole setup. It'll work easier without streaming. But we'll record another show here soon as we get ready to launch what we're gonna do with Late Arrival Club Cigar, with the Flying Boots, what we do with the SERE. So that's going to be coming in April. We're going to start announcing some of that stuff. So we're going to be working after this show quite vigorously over the next few months to get a representation of what we're going to do and how that's going to look. One of the questions we had tonight, and I'll let you answer this, Cody, was how if people want to now before we do this project where they can participate and support SERE and the association through what we're about to develop. How can people get involved in the SERE Association and support that currently?
Yeah, for that, I'll be honest. I need to touch base with the president. His name's Wade Warfield right now. But through the partnership with you guys, I think that'll drop in April. Correct, a percentage of those cigars. So it's just going to be supporting what you guys already love. Through buying more cigars. Boot and Young's been graciously planning to donate some of those proceeds back to the association, and that'll go back to the community and being able to help those families in need, in our community, and really be able to support that mission. So I appreciate that question. That's very kind of you. I think that was I got disconnected a couple times. I think that was a CW6383, correct? But
yeah, it's one of our real good friends and a fellow club member, Chris White. He actually volunteers and works with us, and he's kind of like our intern, but he's also an intern and one of our best customers at the same time. He's super passionate, and he's a retired Marine.
Do you guys have a little plug opportunity? Do you guys have a spot where people could follow a little bit more about not just what you're doing, but maybe the SERE organization as well? Or
oh man, you know what? I'm doing terrible right now. I should have come prepared with that. I don't know if the SERE Association currently has socials out, but you can definitely follow the Late Arrival Club. Where most of our members are old military. A lot of them have SERE background, and kind of continuing on that legacy. But
you didn't come unprepared. I mean, we had so many fires to put out here earlier. I wish you guys were here. You could have saved us. But no, follow along with it. For our group here, you're all kind of part of what we're doing here at Hoot and Young, either watching this for the first time or you're very much a part of it and part of the club and supporters we're doing. We've got a ton that we're going to be promoting with SERE, and I think that was kind of part of the reason why Cody and I kind of hit it off, as we saw this opportunity to build this up bigger than what it is and bring that awareness that Brett made with they were preparing people for the worst day of their lives. And what better way to do it than to do it with a cigar and bring attention to it in that regard. So we got tons more coming with that. Mike, final words.
Thank you guys, not just for your service and everything that you've done, but your time this evening, your patience working through some stuff, but also, man, I'm excited to meet both of you guys in person, to hang out and for the things that are to come. So thank you all, and thank you to everybody watching as well. Thank you for y'all's patience. It will get better, I promise. We're just working through some stuff. So,
Brett, Any final words, my friend? Appreciate your current service and everything you're doing, man. You're super passionate. I can't wait to have a cigar with you out there. I'm going to be out in the springtime, probably around the same time that we get things rolling here with the project that we're working on together. But I'm looking forward to having a cigar with you in person. But any final words, sir?
No, I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to come on and speak about SERE and, give us a platform to bring attention to something that a lot of people don't think about until stuff's gone wrong.
Yeah, certainly, 100%. We appreciate having you on, Cody. Your final parting words tonight.
Just nothing but thanks. Honestly, just to kind of echo Brett, SERE, the mission behind it, people that serve that mission for, it's definitely a hindsight 2020 most often. When you're looking at the war, we're not the tip of the spear yet. We got to go and sometimes recover all of that aftermath. And it's thanks to people like you guys who we kind of get a voice every once in a while, and it's just nothing but gratitude. So thank you so much, Jonathan. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I know we didn't get to connect with Norm, but hey, thank you so much, Norm, for using your venue and your voice in order to help out that mission set. The Made to Remember is amazing, because that what better way to honor the people who came before us than to remember them, to remember what happens and the legacy behind that all. So just nothing but thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Norm really wanted to be on tonight. We've been talking about it for a while, but then we identified that that there was a connection issue with having multiple people on at the same time for whatever reason. I shot him a message and I said, hey, we're just going to roll with these guys, no problem. I said, we'll troubleshoot it after. But no, we appreciate you guys coming on. We appreciate the patience. I said, everyone that was watching, we appreciate the patience there. We will keep improving the show. This is round 2. We're going to be doing a culinary edition here in the next few weeks. We're going to be going to our master blender's house, and we're going to be doing a steak night with him. We'll be streaming there. There will be no dial-ins for that one, so we'll be streaming that. But we'll be having more shows and more discussions coming with this over the next few months. We're going to start expanding this to more than once a month. So we're going to be once every 2 months. We'll have some more, and we will be doing another run with Cody, and hopefully Brett can be on with us. And some more guests, and then we'll have Norm again the next time. So we appreciate everybody's patience with it. It was certainly a pleasure to have you on tonight. But I texted you earlier, Cody. This is the beginning of something fun that we have, and really special to something that's important to you all over the next few months here that we're creating. So we're looking forward to having the club be part of that. We're looking forward to having Hoot and Young be part of it, and really bring attention to something that's really important and something that's close to all of our hearts. So. Really special night. Next thing we got coming on, we got the culinary edition. We'll be talking about Fireside Live. The next time we'll be even better at Fireside. I think we upgraded today in terms of the studio. That was a huge improvement with there, and we've identified some issues here. So I said thanks for everyone for joining us tonight, tuning in, and keep your eyes peeled for YouTube, because we do put up clips. Short clips from the show, and there'll be some great ones.
There should be some good outtakes, at least.
Really good outtakes popping up from the first 30 minutes of this. But I think everything came together really nice, and I enjoyed you guys staying on late with us. The last hour has been really, really enjoyable. So until next time, all of you will be, if you haven't, your club boxes are coming in the next day to 2 days. So you'll be seeing those. All of them have been shipped out. And I said, we appreciate everybody's patience with this as we try to really authentically create this club into something that's a moment and memories and things that we can really make that are truly made to remember, as Cody echoed, and is really the trademark of what we do here. And I don't think we could do this anywhere else.
Nope. Thank you all for supporting Hoot and Young.
So, thanks for supporting us. Thanks for supporting SERE's going forward. We've got some great things ahead, and we really enjoyed the evening. So have a great night. We'll see you next time on Fireside Live.
Cheers, everyone.